Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Listen, we are at another night of the Den. Welcome to the Den. I'm your host, KMJ, and I'm excited to be here for another week, another episode, another time that we can get together and chat and talk and communicate. So it's truly excited that y'all decided to join me tonight. Do me a favor as you come in. I want you to like, of course. I want you to share this, and I want you to comment and say what's up, say hello. Let me know if you can hear me good, if I'm coming through clearly. I want to make sure that I am heard and accounted for. I appreciate y'all jumping on. Definitely let me know if you can hear me clearly, if you can see me clearly, if you can if I'm coming through good. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. We are in the den again. Look at that rhyme. Den again. Everything is good. Good evening to my wonderful wife. Thank you for jumping on as you always do. Excited about you being on. As y'all come in, let me know. Say hello. Say what's up. Grace and peace. Pastor Cheatham. It's good to see you on. Thank you for jumping on. Appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Listen, we're getting ready to start in just a couple of minutes. I'm just going to wait for just 1 second. But while we're waiting, I want to just let you all know I appreciate y'all again for always tuning in. And tonight we are on another episode number 5. And we're going to shift some gears tonight. So we're going to do some shifting, some change up just a little bit. But nevertheless, we're going to do what we need to do. Again, I ask you just to like and share this. Also, if you don't mind, jump on and definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel. I told y'all at the beginning of the year we're going to start some stuff in 2024. So I'm excited to really launch that in a moment. But tonight we're here. We're doing what we need to do. We're live. We're live. So we're excited, y'all, to jump in our conversation tonight. I am excited. Listen, we have been struggling along for the last 6 weeks, but 5 weeks of our episode. 5 weeks of episodes, worth of episodes, and so we're excited about that. And we're going to get into this conversation. So listen, I'm going to shut that off. I am excited, y'all, to be again another week. I'm going to tell y'all the truth. It was hard today. Not necessarily I didn't want to jump on just because I had a lot of things that I had to do. But we're here. We're going to do what we need to do. We're going to have a conversation on what we need to have a conversation on. And so we are truly excited about it. So tonight we're going to shift some gears. Hold on. There we go. We're going to shift some gears in our conversation because I just was thinking about some things today. If you paid attention to the description or the title, you would have seen it said dealing with distractions. And so it's a little bit of a shift in our episodes. In our season of a conversation where we're talking about against all odds. And we've been talking about the life of David, but today I'm going to deal with a different life, a different story, but more in a conversing type of way to really help us understand, because the truth is, we think about where we are right now in our life and where we are in this season. all of us at some level are dealing with some level of distraction. We're dealing with some things that are causing us not to truly be able to move how we normally would move, how we operate, how we should be operating. And so our conversation tonight is going to really deal with a lot in that conversation, that in that perspective, to really help bring us into a new flow, a new shift that God really got for us. I tell you all the time, the den is a safe place, a place where you can receive word, you can get guidance. But ultimately, our intention for the den, Destiny Merge Nights, is to help people to find destiny and to unlock that in their life, and for them to emerge into it fully. And so that's my intentional goal, is to really just talk about conversation, life situations that would help us really become everything God has destined for us to become. So you're going to get Bible, you're going to get real stories, you're going to get conversations, we're going to have guests on. And so that's what I'm aiming towards in the upcoming year, to really build this, to make it a place where it's a community where we can talk about real stuff. But that's enough for that. All right. So let's just kind of dive into our conversation tonight. Our conversation tonight is really coming from the subject of dealing with distractions, or we can also, as a subtitle, do you see it? You can subtitle that. But do me a favor, put in the comments, dealing with distraction, dealing with distraction. So I want to just drop into a passage of scripture, and then we're just going to kind of talk it through. And that's in Mark chapter number 8. I ain't gonna read the whole story or nothing like that, but Mark chapter 8 is kind of like where the focal point of the conversation may just, I'm gonna jump into, but we're gonna talk about a lot. Okay. So Mark chapter 8, verse 23, Jesus took the blind man's hand and laid him out of the village. He spit into the man's eyes and placed his hand on him. Jesus asked him, "Can you see anything?" The man looked up and said, "I see people, look like trees walking around." Then Jesus placed his hand on the man's eyes a second time, and the man saw clearly. His sight was normal again. He could see everything clearly, even at the distance. Okay, at the distance. Jesus told him when he sent him home, don't go into the village. So this conversation blows my mind, this particular story, because I mean, Jesus, the one that rose from the dead, the one that our salvation is hinged upon, and the one that we looked as our Lord and Savior. He is the rule of all. And this story just unpacks a lot of particular things that is so important, because we see the story of a blind man, a man that was brought to Jesus by his friends. A man that was brought to Jesus by his friends, and they asked Jesus to heal the blind man. Jesus takes this man away from his friends, bring him into a village, away from the village, heals him, and then tells him not to go back. So that's kind of like the basic of the story. But to really unpack this, is something that I really start to think about, especially where we are in 2023 going into 2024. And when we think about where we are in our life and what, where we are and where we should be or where we could be, I think the story of the blind man brought out some things that I believe that is so important. And I think a big emphasis is not necessarily on him being healed alone, but why did why did these four men decide to bring this blind man to Jesus? Because you got blind Bartimaeus that was sitting on the side of the road, and he was sitting on the side of the road, and he hears Jesus, and he asks Jesus, Master, someday have mercy on me. And he was brought to Jesus, and Jesus healed him. So he took initiative for his own healing. But then you get these four people that brought this blind man to Jesus, and they brought him to Jesus so Jesus can heal him. It's something so important to really start to unpack. And I want to just deal with like the focal thought, maybe that these men that were bringing this man to Jesus, may have been the hindrance to the blind man. So I want to talk about distractions. I want to deal with distractions and deal with what distractions are, because the truth is, there's so much in our life and what God has for us that we often run or deal with distractions that keep us from really moving the way we need to move into, the way we should operate, the way we should function. And and so we're going to talk about distraction. We're going to talk about the mission of distraction and why distraction is so big, because the truth is most people that are listening to me now, at some form or at some point now or in the future, you're going to deal with something that's going to try to bring you into distraction, into a place where you can't see, where you can't sense, where you are what the Bible calls spiritually blind. Because a part of being spiritually blind is being distracted. Being spiritually blind doesn't mean you can't see. It means you can't see God or can't see purpose clearly. I believe that that's a part of the distraction or the blind of the tactic of the enemy, is to bring us to a place that we are blinded or that we are distracted, where we can't truly see God's way, his will or purpose for our life, or even most importantly, our destiny. We can't see it. Whenever we are dealing with distraction, we can't see it. And so here's an equation that I dealt with, that I put together years ago, is distraction leads to shallow thinking. Shallow thinking leads to shallow living. I'm saying it again. Distraction leads to shallow thinking. Shallow thinking leads to shallow living. So when I'm distracted, I can't think in a deep way. I can't focus or center my mind on a particular thing or give my full attention to. So when I'm distracted, it leads to me shallow thinking, which means it's passive thoughts, passive things I can't fully give my attention to. And when my life is full of distraction, it leads to a life where it's what I would consider shallow living, which means that there's no depth to my existence. There's no depth to who I am. So when I'm distracted, my distraction leads me to shallow thinking, where I can't think deep. I can't think on a different level. And when I can't think on a different level, it also leads to my life to be simple. It leads my life to have no depth to it, which I would call shallow living. And most people are at the place of distraction, which means, if we deal with distraction is anything that prevents someone from fully giving attention to. So there's some things in our life that in 2023 brought so many distractions. You said you was going to be this by this time this year, by this time in this month, or I was going to have this money, I was going to have this job, I was going to have, all of these things. And the truth is, like, you said it, and then there was a whole bunch of wave of distractions that came in our life, and that start to smother our ability to focus, our ability to move forward, our ability to conquer, our ability to make way. This is what distraction has done to us. We have become so distracted to the point where all the promises and plans we made haven't been fulfilled because of our focus, because of our mind being occupied. And this is very, very, very key. Very key. So I was doing some thoughts, and then I was doing some research, and I never heard of the term chronic distraction. Chronic distraction. Chronic distraction. Most people have chronic distraction. The word chronic, it deals with long term or something that's continuous. So when we deal with distraction or chronic distraction, this refers to a life that continues to live a life of patterns full of distractions, where everything you do, everything you turn around, there's a distraction. On your job, there's a distraction. With your children, there's a distraction. With your spiritual life, there's a distraction. With your money, there's a distraction. With your marriage, there's a distraction. It is a recurring thing that continues to happen to sabotage your future, to sabotage your ability to be effective. This is chronic distraction. Most believers deal with chronic distraction. They deal with things that constantly keep them in disarray, where you can't focus. Your mind is often going to the left or right. You can't stay focused. You can't stay steady. Nothing in your life is continuous. And, that that's moving forward, progressive, except distraction. And that's crazy. So many of us have chronic distractions. Okay, let me take it a step further. Chronic distraction, is something that's recurring, but we also deal with multifaceted distractions. I said that multifaceted. It's all happening at the same time. We have different things going on in our life at the same time that pulls away our focus. And the intention of distraction is to drain us of our strength, drain us of our strength, to drain us from getting us to a place where our potential, our skills, our energy level, all of these things are being snatched and pulled away. Is draining us so much where not only we can't fulfill what we should be fulfilling, but we spiritually, emotionally, and physically exhausted. So it's like when I grew up, they had the miracle round, and you going in circles, and the faster you go, everybody wanted to go real fast so you can just sit on sit on there and be trying to hang on for dear life. Our life is like a miracle round where it's causing us to exert all of our energy to deplete us to a point where we can't fulfill everything that we need to fulfill. It's so funny. Ever been in a place where you was like, hey, I'm gonna go forward, I'm gonna do this, and you got so busy, so occupied, when it came down time to really do what you needed to do, you couldn't do it because you became drained. I mean, it's like you said, hey, I'm gonna wake up and this is gonna be my goal. And then you went through all your day doing everything else, and everything else was pulling all of your attention. And then now when it came time to do what you need to do, you didn't have any. Because that's what the objective of distraction to do, is to drain you of your energy, of your persona, everything in your life, trying to pull it all away so that you cannot fulfill what you need to fulfill. This is the thought of how distraction move and operate. Its whole objective is to drain us so we can have the focus that we need to move forward. Oh, this is good. I told you this. This is good. This is good. Distraction. This is what it has been doing for so long. So there are about 6 things that I want to say that distraction does in our life, and then I'm gonna kind of wrap it up in the thought of what Jesus had to deal with to make some adjustments. The first one is that when we are distracted, distraction, when it comes in our life, it affects us and it causes us to become victims of our circumstances. Meaning that, when we have distractions in our life, we become victims of situations and circumstances that happen in our life. We become the victim. In other words, when we are so distracted, all we see is loss. Everywhere we go, we see loss. We can't win the battle if all we see is loss. So when a person is distracted, the first thing that the enemy wants to do is make you feel like you are victim to every circumstance. Meaning that if I can pull your attention away and snatch your attention, your focus away, all you feel is that everything you put your hands to will never be completed. And the reason why is because the enemy wants you to feel as though you lost. For example, like, you said you was going to do this by this particular time, and then when it came time for that, when that time showed up, or when you finally made it to that time, what you say what you wanted to do and what you was going to complete wasn't completed. So now you feel like you lost time, you wasted energy, you wasted all these things. If the enemy can keep you at that place where you always feel like you lost, then he's going to make you become stagnant. So that's one of the first things that distraction does. It makes you feel like a victim to your own future, to your own success, to every circumstance that come in your life. Another thing it does is that when distraction comes, it affects your mind, where now you feel double-minded, where you're unstable. You don't have no stability to your mind. When you think that you've moved past something, there's another obstacle that have come. This is what distraction. Let me keep you occupied. Let me keep your mind unstable, where you have no stability, to where now you're constantly giving yourself away to everything that comes in your life, friends, family, job. What's crazy is that you spend most of your life working a job than you do dealing with family. So you have a lot of different things that is trying to pull you away from your full potential, your full call, to where now your mind is you don't have a stable mind, you have a double mind. I hope this is good. I hope this is good. Because one of the key factors in this life and what God is trying to get us is to break away from distraction. Another thing that distraction does in your life, it makes you feel intimidated and insecure. It makes you feel intimidated and insecure when your focus is definitely broken. So if I am distracted, I feel intimidated about my future. I feel intimidated about the next step. I feel intimidated. I feel insecure about what I need to do, because I've been so distracted this entire time. Now it's time to put the skill to the test. I don't know what I'm doing because I was distracted. I was occupied with everything else, especially when it's time for me to perform. I don't have no ability to perform because I didn't practice, because I wasn't focused. I was distracted. I was distracted. And many people are feeling intimidated about your future because you feel like you're not prepared. 2024 is already here, and a lot of people are like, man, what am I going to do? What strategy I need to come up with? You wasted all this year and you ain't accomplished nothing, and now you're at a point where you feel like you got to rush everything because you're not prepared for the next season. That's distraction. The enemy distracted you to the point where now you feel insecure about your next. You feel insecure about your future. You feel intimidated because you don't feel ready. I hope this is good. You don't feel ready. This is what distraction brings. I'm gonna give you two more. I'm gonna just give you two more. Here's another piece that when distraction comes. Distraction brings confusion and chaos. There is no order to your life. When you are distracted, your life will be filled with confusion and chaos. It's one thing for other people to look at your life and look and see how many things you're dealing with and become confused. It's another thing when it's your own life and you confused. It's another thing when it's your own life, because distraction is to bring chaos. If I can keep you occupied, I can keep chaos and confusion. And whenever there's chaos and confusion, there will never be no focus and no future. You will always continue to be in a revolving a circle. You're going to continue to keep on going around and around. And many of us, we have been in a place where our life is confusion. It's nothing but confusion and chaos. That's all we see around us is confusion and chaos. This is good. This is good. Here's the last one I want to give. When confusion, chaos come through distraction, when distraction is in our life, we will never experience lasting success. We will never experience lasting success. What does this mean? In other words, when I am full of distraction, I will never experience the lasting success because my mind don't settle on the things that, let me say, matters the most. Most people are filled with anxiety because they have so many distractions. So now that when they do have success in their life and things that do happen, it doesn't stay long because we haven't gave our full attention to it. We haven't really built it like we need to. It's crazy. Let me give you an example. Like, you can have a marriage, and in your marriage, you say, "Hey, these are our goals," and you start working towards those goals to build your marriage, and then you only did it for a week, After that week, you got distracted with work, children, life, money, everything. All these things cause distraction. And now what you were trying to build can't last because you became distracted. And most of us, we can't continue to live that way because of how many of us are expecting a different result doing the same thing. And God is saying that you got to eliminate the distractions that are happening in your life. Your future hinges upon your focus. You can't be distracted. Here is a word that I want to give you for the rest of this year before you get in 2024. Here is a prophetic word if you want to say it in that regard. But here is something I want you to consider. Here it is. I want you to consider this. If you're going to have success in 2024, you have to start to clear your mind of unnecessary baggage, unnecessary things that snatch away your focus and your drive. Because if you don't eliminate and destroy the distractions that are in your life, you will find yourself continuing to be defeated because you're filled with so many distractions. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. You have to, because one of the things I realized, I've been saying it for the last couple of weeks, is that why do we wait to 2024 to change new patterns? How come we don't start now? Why don't we just start today developing something new? Why would we wait to 2024 to eliminate distractions when you can start today? Because so many of us have been distracted, and your distraction is causing delay. And there needs to be a shift. So that means you need to start to eliminate, to take away unnecessary baggage and things that are distracting your life. Because many of us, our next season is requiring of us not to be distracted. You can't be distracted. You cannot be distracted. And here's something that I love when like you study and read the text and you start to like examine like the scripture. Something that is very clear in that is that Jesus is encounter with this blind man that was brought by his friends. And when Jesus noticed his friends and this blind man, Bible says that Jesus took the blind man out away from his friends. Can I say this in this spiritual metaphor? This man was naturally blind, but I'm going to use this in a spiritual sense. His blindness is a representation of your distraction. As long as he stayed around his friends, he was never going to be able to see or even see clearly or be able to move to the next phase of his life. Maybe his friends was his distraction. Maybe his encounter being around his friends was his distractions. So if I am going to deal with my distractions in my life, told you it was a metaphor. If I'm going to deal with my distractions in my life, I must identify the patterns of distraction. Let me say it like this: distractions come in patterns. No distractions are going to come in your life without patterns. Everything that happens, even through the enemy, whenever the enemy does anything, he does it through patterns. So every distraction that comes in your life comes in a particular pattern to draw you into a trap. So maybe, hear this, the key factor to why, I'm just giving critical thought. I'm not saying what the text ain't saying. I'm giving critical thought. Maybe that this individual that was blind, a part of the issue is that although his friends brought him to Jesus for healing, maybe him being around this particular familiar place was keeping not only him keeping him spiritually blind and keeping him from moving into full potential. There are some things that we are around that's keeping us in distractions. There's some relationships, some friends, some places we go that if we don't learn to identify those patterns of distractions, we will continue to see those distractions in our life. This is a good one. Put this in the comment. This one right here that I'm about to say is good. Put this in the comment. Unaddressed distractions will lead to missed opportunities. Unaddressed distractions will lead to missed opportunities. I'm going to say it for the third time. Unaddressed distractions will lead to missed opportunities. If you don't take the time to identify these distractions in your life and what's luring you away, you're going to miss some opportunities that are afforded to your life. Maybe you're the reason for maybe the reason for you not seeing the things happening in your life is because you have been distracted this entire time. Maybe that this wasn't Jesus' first, maybe this blind man, him and this blind man, this may not have been their first time with them being within the vicinity of each other. But because this blind man was so, this is just me thinking, maybe this blind man was so comfortable where he was, so idled in what he was, that he became so distracted from the possibility of him finding the healing he needs. Some of us, our atmosphere and where we are and what we're around, it's keeping us so distracted and occupied where we're missing moments, missing doors, missing opportunities because we have become so comfortable. The critical question you need to ask: how many opportunities you missed because you were so distracted? How many opportunities you've missed because you were distracted? How many doors you missed because you were distracted? How many things that you missed in your life because you were distracted? How many? You didn't pay attention. You didn't focus. How many opportunities you have missed? This was critical. So you got to identify these patterns in your life, because when you identify the patterns of distractions in your life, then you can create a plan that will cause a shifting to take place. Identify your patterns. Here's the next thing. Jesus brought him out. When he brought him out away from distraction, Jesus then begins the process of adjusting focus. Because your focus can't be adjusted. I just felt to say this. Your focus can't be adjusted as long as you're around distraction. Jesus pulled him away from the distraction and then begin to adjust his focus. Jesus began to adjust his focus only when he was no longer around the people, the places, and the things that was causing distractions. Here's something I want to say this. I want to throw this out here, okay? So when Jesus brought him out away, Bible says that he spits on the ground, which is disgusting. He spits on the ground, takes the clay, the dirt, the clay, puts it on the man's eyes, and asks him a critical question: do you see anything? This is what the man asked. Jesus asked the man, do you see anything? Which means that if I was to tell you, I'm going to fast forward and then I'm going to rewind, is that Jesus attempts to lay hands on this man twice. The first time Jesus asked him a question after laying hands: do you see anything? The man responds and says, I see men as trees walking. And then the Bible said that he laid hands on him again, and his sight became normal. See, when I study this, and things that begin to like really pull out in this conversation, is that when Jesus laid hands on him the first time, asked him, do you see anything? I truly believe that the question Jesus was asking was not just asking him a question of just to ask, but it was a question to reveal revelation, which means that Jesus laying hands on this man was more about exposing the man's perception. It was about exposing the man's perception. What does this mean? In other words, when Jesus laid hands on him first, he was exposing where his focus was. In other words, the man could see, but his focus was off. My God. See, you don't know where your adjustments to your focus need to be until you start paying attention how you've been seeing it, what you've been seeing, and how you've been seeing it. If all I've been seeing is defeat, then that's what I interpret. If all I have been seeing in my life is destruction, then that's the life I'm going to continue to have. If all I've been seeing is negativity, that's the life I'm going to continue to have. And Jesus had to reveal the man's focus by asking him a question. What do you see? My goodness. It was about exposing the man's perception. Because some of us, because Jesus never asked the question as though he didn't know. He knows all things, right? So he knew the stance of this man. But him asking that question was about revealing the perception of that person, of that blind man. And a lot of us, our perception has been twisted because the blind man, excuse me, the blind man saw men as trees. So his perception was twisted, which means that as long as I continue to have distractions in my life, as long as I continue to live the life I'm living, everything that the way God intended for me to see it, I'm going to see it the opposite way. Because as long as distractions in my life, I will never see it in the full potential that God has deemed for it to be. Because I got too many things in my way. My focus have become twisted based on my experience. That's good. My focus have become twisted because of my experience. I've been wounded and broken and destroyed. So my focus is off. Jesus asked, what do you see? I see men as trees walking. It's not that you can't see. It's just how you seeing it's been messed up. Your perception is something that I often say is perception is how you see it. Your perspective is your attitude towards what you see. Your perception is how you see it. Your perspective is your attitude towards what you see. And God is saying that I need to adjust your perception so that you can have the right perspective about your future. But I can't do that as long as you keep being distracted. I can't do it as long as you're being occupied in spaces and places that are going to continue to destroy your future. So let me adjust you by eliminating your distractions, and let's get to the truth by exposing your perception. Let's get to the truth. Here it is. Let's get real. Many of us have been looking at 2023, and we've been saying this has been the worst year of your life. People walked away. You've lost money. You've lost stuff. You've lost places, opportunities. This is the worst year. And God is saying, although it may not be in the way you intended, but it is also the best year. Because this year, you've learned how tough you are. You've learned how to rebound in difficult situations. You've learned how to not give up when you wanted to give up and throw in the towel. You kept pursuing. You learn, watch this, the tactics of the enemy on how he comes at your life. He said, this is your best year. This is your best year. But I got to adjust your perception so you can have a better future, a better focus so that you can pursue your destiny. You got to eliminate your distractions. Again, perception is how you see it. Perspective is your attitude towards what you see. And what you see determines what you do, who you become, and who you will affect. What I see will determines what I do, who I'll become, and who will I affect. So if I don't adjust my perception and don't allow God to help adjust my focus, then I'm going to find myself not moving the way I need to move. And this is what happened. He laid hands on him and said, "What do you see?" "I see men as trees walking." I see men as trees walking. And the scripture says that after he says that, Jesus lay hands on him again. Which now Jesus saying, lay hands on him again, and his eyesight became normal. See, when we read that, we just think about it just being red and he can see. But I take a step further to think about it, because when Jesus laid hands on him, after eliminating them distractions, adjusting his focus, it was after Jesus laid hands again where now he has correct alignment in his life. So now what was twisted and perverted and confusing is no longer twisted, perverted, and confusing, because he's now able to function and move at the pace and the place that he needs to, because now what was out of alignment is in alignment. The reason why we got to talk about distraction is because you've been out of alignment. You haven't been in tune. You haven't been in alignment. You have not been functioning at the optimal level that you need to function at because of so many different things in your life. And this is the season where God's trying to correct your perspective, correct your focus so that you can find yourself in proper alignment. Proper alignment. Proper alignment. Because as long as you are outside of alignment and you're not in tune and in align with purpose and with destiny, you can't see or function at optimal potential. And Jesus said, listen, now that we dealt with your perception, let's deal with your alignment. Let me lay hands on you so you can see normal, so you can move normal. Because when you can see correctly, you can move correctly. That's good. When I can see it right, I can move right. But if it's blurry, I'm gonna be hesitant because I can't move, because I can't focus right. So let me make adjustment and realign you so that when you move, you're moving with clarity. That's a word. You're about to move in clarity. You're about to move because clarity has now come to your life. You're about to have clarity on everything, relationships, friends. You're going to know within the next couple of months in fullness the clarity and the purpose that God has concerning you, your life. But while you're anticipating clarity, he's making corrections. While you're anticipating clarity, he's making corrections so that way when you move, you won't move hesitant. You won't be afraid because you're trusting him all the way. See, I want you to put in the chat, I'm about to move in clarity. I'm about to move in clarity. I'm going to move in clarity. You're going to move in clarity with no problems, with no delays. I'm telling you, you're going to move in clarity. You're going to move with strength because you understand what's over your life. You're going to move in sync to the purpose and plan. This is what God was saying. through the text. What do you see? So I can help you in your perception. Let me make alignment in your life. But here's the catch. And this is the key part about dealing with distractions, is that when Jesus pulled them away from the distractions, adjusted his perception, and created and shifted him so he could be in alignment, Jesus says one critical thing: don't go back to the village. Don't go back to the village. Don't go back to the comfortable places. Don't go back, because the moment you go back, the moment you're going to lose focus again. Although, watch this. This is good. I feel this here. Although your friends that were in that last season brought you to your new season, doesn't mean you need to go back to your old season because you feel sorry about them bringing you to this season and they're feeling like they're left behind. No, God says no. Some seasons were meant to bring you to a certain place in your life that was necessary for you so you can go to your next. But it's important and imperative that you don't go back to that season, because what was good in the last season may not be good for you in this season. The friends you had in your last season, they ain't bad people. They just not good for your purpose. So before you go back, because you feel like they're good people, they might just be a distraction to your next season. Don't you go back. Don't you go back. Don't you go back. Because I just feel led to say this is some of us, you can't go all in your destiny until you really let go of some people. You can't go all in on your destiny until you say bye-bye to some people. You can't go all in your destiny until you are okay with not going back to a season of your life. You can't go back. That's too much in you. There's too much purpose in you. There's too much destiny in you for you to forfeit because of comfortability. Don't you go back. Too much in you. Jesus said, you go anywhere else, just don't go back to that season. Because the moment you go back, you're going to forfeit your destiny. The Bible says the man said, okay, well, I ain't going back. That's just me. I just added that. I believe the man like, don't go back. I ain't going to go back, because he understood where he was in his life. And this is something that I want to share with us tonight. In this is, you got to deal with your distractions. You got to deal with your distractions. Don't wait till next year to do it. Do it now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Do it. Just begin to do it, because in this season of your life, you have to face people, places, and things that's keeping you bound, so you can fully find your way into your seated place. But you got to deal with your distractions. You got to deal with your distractions. Here's something I want to throw out this. In this season of your life, you have to learn to have self-control. Don't allow your emotions to emerge and bring some things in your life that need to remain hidden and dead. Don't do it. Have self-control. I hope y'all enjoyed this tonight. Listen, again, this was not planned, but it's something that needed to be said. In this season in your life, you cannot afford to be distracted. Okay. So listen, I appreciate y'all hanging with me. I appreciate y'all hanging tonight. I hope this was good for somebody. I hope somebody received some nuggets, some tools, something to build you so you can go to your next seated place in your next season that God got for you. Because again, there's so much in you. You have destiny that still is being revealed to you. And while you're in that season, keep pushing, stay focused, and don't let those enemies distract you. Appreciate y'all. I'm gonna say what's up, Sister Latrice. Good to see you in. Good to see everybody in here. Nina Brooks, good to see you on. Y'all is in here. Rachel, good to see you in here. I appreciate y'all hanging with me, rocking with me. If you have not, I want y'all to make sure that you literally go to my YouTube channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I want y'all to do that. It should be in the description. If you're on Facebook, it's in the description. You can literally click the link and it should pull up, and subscribe to the channel. There's so much things that are going to be unveiled. I'm excited about this season, about the next thing that we're going to do and what we're going to move into. But again, I appreciate y'all hanging with me in the den tonight. It wasn't as long as normal because I want to make sure that we are stewarding the time well, and so I appreciate y'all hanging with me. But every Tuesday at 8 p.m. we will be in the den and we're gonna be having conversations. So listen, we got a couple of Tuesdays left of this year, and we're gonna take advantage of every Tuesday that we have. So please continue to rock with me, stay with me, and continue to be with me. But I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good night. And until next time, I see you in the den. Peace.